There are two religion clauses in the First Amendment, and they were there by an act of enormous intentionality on the part of the founders. Why? Why was it important that the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause of the First Amendment be so carefully articulated by the founders?
Well, I think the pursuit of religious liberty is right in the DNA of the American experience. We know, of course, that many settlers, many immigrants were drawn to these shores in pursuit of religious liberty. So this has been an abiding interest in the American experience. And so I think it's part of what it means to be an American, to support the idea of religious liberty. But I think religious liberty is also important to the American founders for a different reason, and that is because they were engaged in a bold and noble experiment in self-government. And there has to be a degree of social order and stability to facilitate self-government. And so one of the great challenges confronted by the founders is, how do you promote civic virtue? How do you promote personal morality? And they look to religion and biblical morality to provide that internal moral compass that would prompt Americans to behave in an orderly and decent fashion that will facilitate self-government. And they believe that this is something, these were ideas found in the Scripture. And to unleash that influence of religion and biblical morality, they thought it was important to have religious liberty so that moral spokesmen, the church, and people of faith could influence society, could inform the public ethic.
So one way to look at that might be to say that these two religion clauses were supports for the foundation that they saw as essential, which is a moral and religious and ethical people.
That's correct. I'm reminded of George Washington's farewell address. This is his parting advice to the nation, in which he says, of all the habits and dispositions which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. And so Washington believes that if we're going to thrive as a nation, if we are going to be politically self-sufficient, if we're going to be a self-governing people, we have to be a moral people. And religion is the wellspring of that morality.
Washington makes a reference to the founder of our religion, making it pretty clear that when he says religion and morality are indispensable supports, by religion he means Christianity. Yes?
That certainly is the way I interpret and read it. When Washington writes his letter in June of 1783, really setting the stage for leaving his position as commander-in-chief, he is giving his parting advice to the nation on what they must do. This fledgling nation, right? We sometimes forget this is a very, very shaky republic, right? Yeah. They have defeated the British, but what's going to happen next? Are they going to hang together and establish a new nation? Are these colonies going to, former colonies going to spin out and create their own nations, maybe even go to war with each other? There was great uncertainty as to where this group, this ragtag group of former colonies was headed in 1783. And so he gives his parting advice to his fellow countrymen. And in the last paragraph of this speech, which at the time he writes, he thinks this is the last time he's going to be communicating to the American people, where does he go? He goes to the works of the prophet Micah, chapter 6, verse 8. And he says, if we ever hope to be a happy nation, he says, we're going to have to do justice, love mercy, straight from the text of the prophet Micah. And he says, we're going to have to learn to imitate that author of our religion, referencing Jesus Christ, and the virtues. As citizens, we're going to have to learn to imitate those virtues of Jesus Christ if we're going to prosper and flourish as a nation.